Hi there. My name's Scott
Hi.
Kampschaefer, and I'm a therapist here in Austin, Texas. And I'm interviewing today Mike Kampschaefer, who's a psychoanalyst in Oklahoma City. He happens also to be my brother, and he's a well-renowned authority on all issues psychoanalytic. So I've got a couple of questions prepared for him, and Mike, I'd like to just go ahead and welcome you and say
Thanks, Scott.
hello. Oh, let me get you up here so everybody can see you. Can you see me okay?
Yeah, I can see you just fine.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for being with me today. And I just wanted to start by asking you, first of all, how can issues in childhood have a negative impact on people later in life?
Well, the main way that they have an impact on people is that the events that happen in childhood inculcate something that Freud called unconscious guilt, which is an idea that's stood the test of time and that I find useful day in and day out in my professional work. And the idea basically is that when we're kids, we're naturally egocentric and we feel like everything that's happening revolves around us. And so if everything is about me, basically, then it must be my fault. So the things that happen in the family that are frustrating or painful or disappointing or what have you tend to get attributed unconsciously with a sense of blame, self-blame that gets internalized. But because that's unconscious, it influences us automatically to be self-defeating uh, in our way of operating in the world, and it influences self-esteem, and it's always involved in symptom formation. So the point is that once those feelings of self-attribution of guilt and shame can become conscious and we can trace down the sources of them, then we can sort of debunk ourselves or disabuse ourselves of the fallacy that pain equals blame,
Hmm.
which is another way of saying that. Anything that's painful in the mind means that there must be someone at fault. And once we can disabuse ourselves of that notion during a treatment process, then we can start to free ourselves from the domination of these issues from the past.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. And yeah, pain equals blame is a familiar theme I come across with the clients that I work with. And I guess I was wondering, for those folks that might just want to say, well, tell themselves, I'm an adult and I should get over it with respect to one's childhood, is there anything that's inherently ineffective in doing that? And, what would you tell somebody who wants to just say that and think they can get rid of all that stuff?
Yeah. Well, the wish to be able to just get rid of it and not be influenced by it is certainly understandable. I mean, nobody likes this idea that our childhood issues follow us into adulthood, not even me, you know. Uh, so
Mm-hmm.
if only it were true that I mean, by willpower and by positive thinking and affirmations and yoga and exercise and stuff like that, we can exert a certain temporary influence on these matters. But experience of generations of analysts and therapists of all kinds shows that unless and until we can really face these things and grapple with them consciously and deliberately, they still tend to come up on our blind side. And through a mechanism that Freud called repetition compulsion, which is one of his greatest hits, I think I've said that to you before. Uh, the idea that these scenarios tend to repeat themselves cyclically throughout life, that just doesn't, uh, that can't be prevented. But it can be that we learn to grow through grappling with it and coping with it, and it can come to not be such a matter of interference. It can be a um, sort of like a picture-in-picture phenomenon on the old TVs, where you could have one channel on the foreground and then have another channel in the background, kind of like my picture now is down at the bottom of your screen. Issues from the past can learn to be put in perspective and have a minor role in our life here and now.
Yeah, that all sounds very apropos. And what I'm also wondering is for those folks who just choose to just not deal with that kind of stuff, what do you see as the long term consequences of ignoring childhood issues in a nutshell?
The consequences that come out in two areas. They come out in work and they come out in love. So they tend to exert kind of an inhibition in our work life, affect our work performance in one way or another, or they can affect our relationship life, our ability to develop and sustain intimacy, or to solve and deal with interpersonal conflict that comes up in our relationships.
Okay. Well, so that really kind of sums up a lot, and we've had a much longer conversation on this, and I appreciate you being able to kind of put it all in a nutshell, so to speak, like I mentioned. Mike, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your extremely busy day to fit this interview in with me, and
Well, you too, Scott. I'm happy to do it.
yeah, and I hope we can have this conversation or extension of it again sometime in the not too distant future.
Okay, me too. Look forward to it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and I will go ahead and let you go for today. So, thanks
Okay.
again. Be well.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.